Most often, the brightest smiles come from those who've struggled the most. What's behind your smile? Let's open up and talk about what's really going on behind the smile. And sometimes it's okay to fake it until we make it. I'm Bonnie Woodrick. Join me to gain insight on how many of us hide behind the smile to get through painful and difficult times. My podcast is a safe place where others can share their stories and discuss how opening up, rather than hiding behind a smile, allows for growth and happiness. I'm very intrigued by our guest today. Jeff Bennett may not be a household name, yet he's a creator of a show that is in millions of homes each week. Let's go behind the scenes of one of the top shows on television and discover how The Wall was created. Jeff is a self-described idea man whose creativity and ideas have led him to not only co-founding his first business, OtterBase, but to many other opportunities, such as serving as board presidents of several leading organizations, such as Hope Network, Spectrum Hospital, and YPO, Young Presidents Organization. We're also going to look behind the smile and gain insight on what motivated him to co-found the nonprofit organization Speaks Out. Doug Meyer Board Chair and I Understand board member, is in studio today as a guest host. I am excited to be surrounded by some pretty fascinating and accomplished men, and I'm excited to chat. So let's begin. All right. I think I say all the time, I'm so excited because I get to surround myself with such great people. And today, my guest host, Doug, is here with me, chair of Meyer Foundation and I Understand board. And we're so grateful to have you here, Doug.
Thank you, Vada. You're the best.
Thank you. And Jeff Bennett, also known as JB. Right?
True statement?
Yeah, true statement.
My friends call me that, so you certainly should.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. So I'm really happy that you're here. There's so many things about you that I just find so intriguing that I don't know that I want to know. So this is such a great time
yours.
that I can have 20, 30 minutes of your time and find out more.
Yep.
So thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
With us. So I'm going to start by, well, you guys are neighbors and you guys have been chatting away. Not on tape, of course. So it's nice that you guys...
We have a new friendship.
Well, yes.
For sure. We have a new friendship. And
I'm just excited to learn more about Jeff as well. I hear so much, and, I'm ready to hear more, and I'm fairly confident that I'm going to learn something.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm very confident I'm going to learn something.
I think so. So one thing that you do know is that he is a co-founder of OtterBase.
I do know that.
Do you know that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and OtterBase is pretty big. And you started that from the ground up with your brother?
Yep, that was the first company I started in 1998. I started it out of a low-income government-subsidized apartment. Was living in Detroit after about a year out of college, proposed to Meg, my now wife, tricked her.
Who's adorable, by the way.
So she said yes, and I said, well, we're moving to Grand Rapids. And I got this beautiful apartment, which not so much. And so we moved into, Camelot Woods. There was nothing Camelot about it. And I started my company there. Just applied for every credit card I could get my hands on, cash advanced them all, and started a staffing company. Today, it's a national firm.
So what do you do? Yeah, so what is it?
Yeah, so OtterBase is an IT temporary staffing company. And, we do business in almost 30 states. We've got about 500 employees. And today I serve that company as chairman. And for the past dozen or so years, I've launched, several other businesses, a mental health advocacy foundation called Speaks Out, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So, if you kind of put everything that I've done in my career like in the same box, none of it really makes sense. But yeah, so it is true that is one of my businesses, but it certainly doesn't define my career.
No, absolutely not. But what a way to start.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And by the way, shout out to my wife, who is also my high school sweetheart. And she, from low income housing to, the pleasures we have today, she stuck with me the whole way, which was a career for her in and of itself. So.
Yeah, what a beautiful thing. Well, because behind every great man is a great woman.
Well, you're darn right about that.
So we got there. You too, Doug. She's coming. She's coming.
Okay.
She's coming. But as your podcast, partner and, I understand partner, you still got a good one, if I can say so for myself.
You got to work.
Well, there's a lot of
here.
good ones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yes.
Yes. Like Kim, who's here with us, too. She's a great one as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeff, how many businesses have you started?
5, I think.
5?
Yes, and I have 2 new healthcare startups happening right now as well. So it's a bit of a curse, startups. They sort of, it's like a drug to me. I'm not really great at running big companies, but I know how to start them and get them off the ground. So, and then I hire smart, patient people to shepherd them to the next level. Yeah, so, I've been accused of being a shiny toy chaser. So, it doesn't take much to distract me and get me fired up to try something new. And I'd say all of my startups have been just passions that got me fired up that I took after.
I love that. I love that entrepreneurial spirit along with passion.
Yeah.
That's definitely a win-win. I want to talk to you about one in particular because it's something that I just find to be very fascinating and to think about how somebody can get a thought on a napkin to a 4-season million viewer audience of a game show called The Wall.
Right.
How does that happen?
Yeah, so The Wall is the biggest game show in the world now. It was on last night. We're wrapping up our 4th season. The 5th season is going to be shot soon. That show's in 25 countries around the world. It's a really, really long story that I'll tell you in like 30 seconds. I wanted to have success in that space. And it did not start with the idea for a game show. It started with understanding that world, understanding that space, understanding the people that I needed to know, understanding the ideas that got people's attention, networking, just knowing the right people, furthering my ideas, and just organically over probably 7 years it took me. I just found myself in the right place with the right people with the right idea. We originally sold The Wall to Fox, and we did a pilot. They took a pass. We brought it back. We said, who should we attach to this show to help us resell it? We attached LeBron James to it. He went out and helped us sell it to NBC. Fast forward another half a dozen years, and it's the biggest game show in the world.
That's amazing. What made you want to get into that category, that space?
The truth is that I'm drawn to so many things. This was just one. So, I've owned companies from technology to real estate to business services to entertainment. Now I've got, my mental health advocacy foundation. Now I'm doing, some healthcare tech startups that I think are meaningful mental health solutions. So it's like, it's just kind of broad and vast but when I set my eyes on something that I really believe in and I really want to experience and achieve, I just kind of get fearless about it and just keep going until I get it. So.
Well, I love that. Congratulations on the success.
Thank you.
And it's fun. And for those that don't know, can you just give a quick snippet of how the game show works?
Well, look, I use this as a good comparison because it was one of the inspirations. If you remember the game on The Price is Right called Plinko, it was like this 10-foot board, and people would walk up like 2 steps in the back, and they would like put a chip at the top, and they would drop the chip down the board, and it would bounce, back and forth across pegs into a slot that represented an amount of money, right? Well, people would go absolutely insane when they played that game on The Price is Right. And I just imagine if instead of winning $1,000, those slots looked like $1 million. And instead of a 10-foot tall board, it was 4 stories tall. And then, of course, a lot of other complexities around adding trivia to it, having it be a 2-contestant game, all these types of things. And so my imagination just kind of snowballed from there. And, I imagined it with Andrew Glassman, who's a brilliant producer, Hollywood producer, who's had, 30-year success, record in Hollywood. And so he was my partner in this. And so don't get me wrong, there was no doing this show without him. So that was just kind of one of the inspirations. It's the biggest cash-winning game show of all time. I mean, you could theoretically win like $13 million on the show.
Wow, that is so.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I know, that's so amazing. But when you're actually watching it, it evokes like almost every emotion because you have the contestants who usually have some sort of story, and then you have the dropping the ball and where is it going to go, and are they going to lose, and are they going to win, and all of that is really exciting. And then at the end, do they rip up the contract or they don't rip up the contract?
That's right.
You experience like every emotion watching it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Vonnie, do you think you and I could go on as an I Understand team?
I actually thought about that last night when I'm watching it, because I'm like, I think you would get all of the answers right.
There might be a conflict of interest. I don't know. It's like,
I think Doug would get all the answers right.
yes.
We could do it for charity. We
Yeah.
could do it for I Understand to
And
raise money.
Look at, now he's putting on the spot. Did you hear? Conflict of interest.
It is a conversation we can have. Okay?
We digress. Yeah.
That's right. We can have that
Yeah.
conversation.
I knew like every answer to the first 4 questions, and then it like went downhill from there. So,
Yeah.
and I think the first ones are always the easiest ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not much money at risk, right?
Right.
When you get to the end of the show
Yeah.
and there's millions of dollars at,
Yeah.
at stake, then the questions get tough.
They become quite hard.
Yeah.
Which, you're the U of M graduate.
Yeah.
So
And a doctor.
And a doctor. That's right.
Who gave you that, doctor?
Michigan State gave me that. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So anyway, so that's really, really exciting. But I'm going to go back to Jeff, the first time that I met you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, but I remember because I
Yes.
seem to remember a lot of that with people that I end up respecting a lot. So I met you at, Doug and I had an I Understand event.
Yes.
And we had Mariel Hemingway in as a speaker. And it was also when we had an I Understand inspired art prize piece
Yes.
called The Door's Always Open, which is basically a life-size cage with a man gripping the bars of the cage, and then the doors open. Doug, why don't you tell why that resonated with you?
Oh, that goes back several years when Vonnie connected me with Dr. Keith Abloh outside of Boston, where I went for 3 ketamine treatments, basically to reboot my brain from a mental health depression standpoint. And Dr. Abloh had the small version on his desk, and I couldn't stop looking at it. It really resonated to me, where this whimsical figure is clenching the bars, trying to get out, when all he had to do was turn around and walk out because the door was open. And it's whether we've been, I don't want to say stuck, but stuck in a marriage, stuck in a job that we didn't like, and we're afraid to leave, not knowing if we would find love somewhere else, not knowing if we would find another job, whether you're stuck because of addiction or almost anything, mental health, brain health. If we're stuck and don't know how to get unstuck, we just clench the bars even tighter. And yet it's so easy to say all we have to do is walk out. But sometimes there's comfort in the pain because it's a given. You know what to expect. You know that's your life. And you don't know what life would be on the other side. And I think you mentioned, you go into your businesses and startups fearless. And that's what I've had a hard time doing. I'm afraid to walk out and what's going to be there. And that just really resonated with me on so many levels. And I thought, we've got to bring that back to Grand Rapids. We've got to talk about it. And I think helping to break down the stigma of mental health is, turn around and walk out.
Yeah.
You can do it. It's not going to be easy. It may be frightful, but you can do it. And so anyway, thank you for, again, bringing that to my attention. And you have one now.
Well, that's a beautiful interpretation of that piece. And now that I've heard you say that, it gives it new meaning for me. And I really appreciate your candor and honesty as you talk about your own experience. I admire that deeply about you, and you're such a great role model because just listening to you talk is a great example of how easy it can be to talk. Like that sounded easy for you, though it probably wasn't. It's just a great example because I think that the more people hear us talk, like we're actually showing them how to talk. And so anyways, I just thought, just listening to you talk, I just enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But and I've said it many times that it's also therapy for me.
Yeah.
Get it out. So many people, I believe, keep it inside. And the more we talk about it, the more we open up, the healthier I am as an individual. And the more I'm able to talk about it and hopefully help others.
Yeah.
I'm still find myself clenching those bars from time to time, but I also have been aware and realize on the other side is freedom, happiness, and I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there, and this is all part of that journey.
Well, I'm grateful to, be a part of it with you, so
Thank you.
Appreciate you saying that.
Thank Vonnie.
And from that event where we met, and I knew the person that was, was an auction piece. And I knew the person who was also doing the bidding. And so I was going to make sure that she paid a lot for it. So, but what
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Yeah,
But what was great about it was when finally the bidding ended, we said to the artist, "Will you make two? Make two of them. Like, let's cash this check twice." And so that was a fun experience to be a part of. And that piece sits in my den at home prominently on the shelf. And I'm grateful to have it. It's a reminder of a beautiful evening that you put on. And so.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, I think that another important element of that piece with the door being open, I think that, you have to have courage to be able to walk out and to talk about it. But for the outsiders looking in, we need to go in and ask the question, are you okay? And be there, be that one for someone. I want to go back to, Doug, you sharing and Jeff, your comments back. That was just really a beautiful moment between you two, because one thing with mental health, I think that there is a lot of stigma that's attached to it. And oftentimes when men share, it is perceived as a sign of weakness. And for you to share so openly and for you to react the way that you did was really, I feel like, a really special moment. So thank you both for that. When Jeff said to you, he said, it's hard for you to talk about it. But if you remember at one of our podcasts or our commercial or something that we did, you said, it really doesn't take courage. It's just something we should do.
Yeah, I've never looked at it as being courageous. And people say, you're so brave, you're so courageous. And we've talked about this several times in other podcasts as well, that I look at it as therapy. I look at it as I'm helping me and helping others. And that's, helping me by opening up is huge. Helping others helps me. And it validates everything that I've gone through. And it's one of my lines, our lines is, why me? Why did I get cancer? Why did they not cure it all through radiation and other forms of medicine? Why me? Why am I the one depressed? And then, we always go back to, or I always go back to, well, why not me? Okay, let's deal with it.
Yep.
Let's make something out of it. Let's be the one for someone. Let's, share my story. Let's share others' stories. We all have a story, and we all have things that are good to talk about, and just get it out there. It's brain health. It's not mental health. It's not a stigma. It's heart disease. It's brain disease. It's cancer. We need to talk about it, and we can, and we are. And so thank you, Jeff, for coming on and for sharing your story, and for all you do for I Understand, and being the one for us as well.
Yeah, exactly. But let's talk about what you're doing, because you believe and you're passionate about mental health. Let's first ask the question of, why is mental health important to you? Why is raising awareness important to you?
Well, I served on the Hope Network Foundation board, and still do for, the past dozen years. And they do a lot of work in this space. And so I was given some exposure and awareness from that space, from just being, on the board there. But that maybe just, that heightened my awareness. And I found myself just being much more aware about the experiences that my friends were having that were mental health oriented, or their kids. And it was just this very organic process of that awareness hitting the action threshold, right? Where I became exhausted from being around this crisis and not being in the fight. And I knew that if I didn't get in the fight, that my awareness, it would frankly torture me. Like I would just become so upset that, I wasn't really doing anything or getting involved. And so then with my partner, Michael Ranville, he's a brilliant brand strategist and marketing guy and idea guy, he shared this same passion. And I knew that I needed to have this experience with someone else. Having experiences, you guys know, like I can tell the support that you give each other, that the same kind of support system for me, like we're sort of in this street fight together. And so we said, you know what? Let's leverage our strengths into this fight. Let's take what we know and let's incorporate it into some solution-based actions. And so we did. And I'll say it was, my experience, there's probably a lot of solidarity here between us because nothing ever starts fully formed, right? And so I'm sure that when you had the idea and the passion to start, I understand, you had no idea where it would go, but you just knew that one day you were going to take a step forward and that you were going to work on that day and then think about the next day. And then the next day came and you took 2 steps forward. And just every day was, more work and more ideas. And then, now today you find yourself being a major influencer in the mental health space. People care about what Vani thinks in this space. They want to be associated with her. And so good for you for having that sort of entrepreneurial desire to, 1, take action, and 2, to step into that grueling process of like constantly trying to problem solve and figure out strategically like what should the next day look like and the next day and how can you be more impactful. And so anyway, I admire you very much.
Really sweet.
But so anyways, my partner Michael Rambo and I, we started Speaks Out.
A little bit of my background. We don't, if you read my book, but, I was a stay-at-home mom for, 30 years. And and 15 of those, my Rob has been gone for about 17 years now. And I've been a single mom. And it was not easy being that single mom, especially when you have kids that have the same anxiety and depression that their dad has. I mean, there's definitely a genetic component involved. But talk about, speak out. I felt like I had to speak out because I didn't like the way people were talking to me. I didn't like being, her husband killed himself. There's so much I didn't like about it. And then you start talking and it really takes that one person. And it really, in this situation, Doug was, you were my one person when I started out by giving T-shirts away to evoke conversation that believed in me. And I had a belief from somebody that was an acquaintance, and, competitors in industry. He gave me more than my family was giving me in terms of understanding. So I know what that's like to be alone in a crowded room. You know how that feels.
Yeah, one of my favorite paintings is this painting of, it's a park scene and it's all these little gray figures and there's one red one. So like you're alone in a crowd. But what, and I'm so appreciative of Vani giving me a platform, but helping me through all of my struggles and challenges. The one thing that Vani said early on was after losing Rob and going to teachers' conferences, school events, that people would come up and not say, how are you doing, Vani? What can I do to help, Vani? Would you like to talk about it, Vani? Is there anything, I can do for you? It's, how did Rob die?
Yeah, how do you do it?
How do you do it? And that just, to me, that just seems so awful, though a lot of people aren't educated. A lot of people may not realize it is a disease. A lot of people may not realize that it's not a choice. It's depression.
Right.
It's pain.
Right. Well, it's all those things combined. And in all of the work that we do with Helen DeVos Children's Hospital and the nurse and now doing a sensory room for autistic, I have an autistic son. Our sheriff's department, our collaboration with the Michigan Sheriff's Association, all of those are passion projects, just like you. And I think where I was going with this is when Rob was alive, he would say to me, or I would say to him, he had so many passions. He was that entrepreneurial spirit like you, Jeff. And I would say to him, I wish I had a passion. I don't have that passion. I don't see that passion. But passion is the gift that Rob left me. And I know it now. And I know that I want to make a difference. Yeah. And it's people like you that believe in me that allow me to do that and allow me to speak out about it. So let's talk about Speak Out.
Yes, please.
So Speaks Out
Speaks Out
is the brand. So this kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier, where my partner and I were just trying to, we were trying to flex our talents and our imagination and our abilities, and so Speaks Out is a global movement created to end the silence around mental health, and its core principle is to leverage the power of co-branding. Okay, so we live in a very noisy world, and no matter how loud I personally, Jeff Bennett or Michael Ranville, wants to talk about mental health, few people can hear us, unfortunately. Even if they're searching for us, the world is just so noisy. So how do you break through? Well, the principles of Speaks Out is that Speaks Out is not built to live alone. It's built to live with another brand of influence. And it is when our two brands coalesce and work together, we amplify our voice. And so we partner with brands of influence. Now, what's an influencer? I mean, could be Lady Gaga, could be the NBA, could be Nike, could be Apple, could be a minister, could be a community leader. It's any influencer who has unique influence over their audience, so that when they talk, their audience believes and acts.
Could be I understand.
Absolutely, right? I Understand Speaks Out, right? So we launched our foundation a couple years ago with the NBA. It was the NBA Speaks Out. And, one of the things that we wanted to show the NBA was that we could create a really unique and immersive fan experience that was on the subject of mental health, that was in keeping with the energy of a professional sporting game, right? And so there were dozens of little communication touch points during a basketball game that we would be kind of, touching the fan with, that brought awareness in a really kind of cool and progressive way that sort of just changed the conversation in a new way that they hadn't heard. And we wanted to show that we could have that conversation, but do it in an environment like you wouldn't expect, because, people go to an NBA basketball game, they want to sit in their seat, drink a 40-ounce beer, and they don't want to hear about depression and all this kinds of stuff. So we wanted to show that we could sort of reinvent that model. So we launched the foundation, by exercising that. But, what Speaks Out ultimately does is partner with an influencer, and we use their influence as a distribution channel for our message. Our message is built to tear down the cultural barriers that keep people in their silence. And so that's what we do. And we're working on some larger concepts right now. We hope to launch a big community-wide initiative in 2022. We want to be the mentally healthiest city in America. So, we're working on a pretty rich communication strategy through Grand Rapids Speaks Out, along with some innovative tech programmatic solutions around lifestyle medicine. So we think, one of the most meaningful paths to, becoming one of the mentally healthiest cities in America is really be talking about the whole person, to be talking about how food affects our health, food as medicine, mindfulness, fitness, relationships, exercise, just the totality of what is considered lifestyle medicine. We're trying to, from a tech platform play, innovate in that space so we can put that tool in everyone's hands.
So when you say tech platform, are you thinking like apps? Are you thinking?
Yeah. Think about it like an app.
Okay.
A really beautiful, sticky app. It's the platform will be in this unique intersection between technology, entertainment, medicine, and community. We sort of want to attempt to redefine or create a new category called social health, where it speaks so largely to what you've talked about, just coming beside each other in terms of like community.
Oh, my mind's going like several miles an hour here, and this building that we're building, mental health, brain health is going to be a huge component of that.
Yeah.
And there certainly are some synergisms that we'll have to talk about.
We will.
We can do a lot.
Yes. I'm giving you 2% visibility into the kind of broader strategy, and I don't know how much sense I'm really making. I would love the chance, though, to spend a lot more time talking to you about it.
Oh, we will. But the whole social aspect
Yes.
is very interesting, and especially in these COVID times where the masks have taken away the personality, the smiles, the sadness, whatever. Everybody seems to be hiding behind their masks, good, bad, or indifferent. And social media has just exploded, I think, because we're not going out as much. We don't seem to be interacting as much. We're social distancing physically, but not through social media. And that just heightens the bullying, the isolation, whatever it might be.
I think
really,
you're right. The word isolation, I mean, I think at the heart of the mental health crisis for so many people is the word loneliness.
You may have 1,000 friends or 10,000 friends on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, but you still may be isolated in your apartment or your basement or wherever it might be.
That's right.
And that's just, wrong. I mean, we're a social society, and social media is not being social, at least in, my definition.
Well, there's no question. That's, yes, you're right.
Yeah, and I love that. Because I know through I understand is that, one of the most important things that you're doing, because I know it's one of the most important things that we can do, is doing right now. What we're doing is talking about it and bringing it to everyday places and talking about it to normalize, to destigmatize, and change the way we talk and we view suicide.
Talking and hugging as opposed to texting and tweeting. And that just seems to exaggerate depression, brain health. We've got to keep this up, and we are. And so, again, thanks, Jeff, for helping us out here today.
Well, it's we certainly don't think that we have all the answers, or that we have a perfect view into the future in everything that we should be doing. We just know that we have to show up every day and, keep putting the work in to discover what the future, can and should be. And I think that that's what this path is all about, is just constant discovery, showing up, doing the work, and exposing yourself to the opportunities to find answers.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think that if you, show up every day and every day you even just touch one person or that one message that you put out on Instagram or whatever social media platform it is, helps one person, you've had a success. And chances are you don't even know that success happened. So that's what I think is really cool, is that when we can go out and do our work and bring the conversation and support people, we don't even know most of the time who we're helping or why we're helping, or maybe they just needed to hear that at that moment. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Jeff, I want to know, what do you like to do for fun? Do you have time? I know. Do you have time for fun? Are you just thinking about a new business, a new game show, a new...
I'm a passionate boater.
Okay.
So that is, that is what we do. We're on the water. I love being on the water. It just feeds my soul. It's my love language. And so I'm at peace when I am, on the water or on a boat or even cleaning a boat. That makes me feel good. I mean, so that's what it is. Sunshine and...
So anything more, my guest host, that you want to ask Jeff before we sadly have to say goodbye?
You just got put on the spot there.
No,
it's like, you better come up with something.
No, it's been great talking with Jeff, and we appreciate you spending time with us and learning more about what all you do. And I think there's so much more we can do together from a synergistic standpoint and help ourselves while we're helping so many others. And
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot we can do, and it sounds like you're doing some amazing things. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you would like to say?
Well, I'm glad
we-
you gave me that opportunity
Yeah.
because I do want to say that I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to spend time with you, and I am just amazed, Vani, by everything that you have created and everything that you've been through, and just all of your keep getting after it attitude that you have. It's inspirational, and I'm glad to be associated, with you, and I'm excited to, support everything that you're doing.
Now I'm going to have tears. Doug makes me teary-eyed quite a bit, but I'm kind of used to him. But coming from someone like you, that I have a high regard of respect and that have been, watching on the sidelines and seeing your passion and what you do and driving by your house and waving in the last couple months, I just really am very grateful for you, and all of the work that you're doing is so important. And I think that we always say we're so much better together. We never want to compete with each other. We want to enhance each other in our work. And having you here today has just validated my admiration for you. So thank you.
That's very nice. And by the way, Doug's wearing killer pink boots. I don't even know where you buy those, but
I know.
You've got to be one brave dude to wear those bad boys.
Well, wait a minute.
Vani's helped me
Okay.
open up a little bit about.
Well, you opened way up with those.
I don't wear pink all the time, but
pretty
around
sweet.
Vani I try
Hey,
to.
look, real men wear pink. I got them like a little pink here.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay, so maybe you're not familiar with why we wear pink.
Go ahead, tell me.
We wear pink because, as you can see, pink is the color of unconditional love.
Okay.
And it's about loving ourselves enough
Yes.
to walk out of that cage, or loving someone else enough to walk in. We need to accept people for who they are. And we wear pink and remind people of unconditional love.
Well, and not be afraid to walk out of that cage wearing pink
That's right.
anything.
Absolutely.
And I can't thank Vani enough. Also, Vani's been the one for me that, in my loss through addiction-related stuff. And Vani's been there for me, and I want to be there for Vani. And with Jeff's help, we can all be there for someone and really break down the stigma.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's what it's all about.
You
so
got it.
thank you again, Jeff, for
Yeah.
your help in talking.
Yeah, I'm glad we could be here together.
I just love the love.
I
I just love the love, and that's
Lot of
pink,
love.
and that's pink love, right?
That's
That's
right.
the unconditional love and support of each other. So, thank you. And like I said, I do feel really honored to be here with, and I'm going to say two incredible men that have really influenced mental health and me personally. But also, we want to thank Stuart from Soundpost Studios for making us sound so good.
Thank you, Stuart.
A fun and informative interview that allows us to see the many talents behind one person with a passion to make a difference, who recognizes that we need to speak out about mental health and brain health illnesses. You can find out more at speaksout.world and follow their social media platforms to watch the fun and excitement of the #1 game show in the world. Check out your local listings for The Wall. Also, we love Big B Coffee during our podcast sessions. Thank you for allowing us to buy one, give one to start the conversation.